Hey everyone, thank you for tuning into the Streamline team where every single week we come at you with ways that you can solve problems in your life through virtual assistants. So we have Anne here as well. Anne, how you doing today?
Good, Doc. What about you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Fantastic. Ready to share some really key informations. You know, as we wind into the new year, sports is something that is really, really big right here in the US. You've got football, baseball practice coming, you got swim practice, basketball, hockey, I mean, all kinds of things. Now, as kids really look forward to their parents one day joining them or being at the stands, right? A kid looks up at the stand and they really want their parents to be there. But a problem that comes up all the time is mom or dad is not able to attend the games because of work, especially if you own a business. You feel like, oh my God, I don't have enough time in the day. I need to work. And what ends up happening is they end up missing their kids' games. They end up delaying the games, or showing up late, right? They might miss the first few plays. We hear that a lot, right?
That's right. What about you, Doc? Before, have your parents ever missed any school activities or sport games that you have when you were
I'll
a
tell you this.
teenager?
My mom and dad has never been to one of my swim meets or bowling meets, ever, because they were always working. It was always after school, right? 3 o'clock, 3:30, and you see other kids, other parents pulling up, they take time off. And my parents could never do that. They never owned their own business either. Would it have been different if they owned their own business? I don't know. I have friends who own their own business and still can't attend their kids' games because I keep telling them they need a VA. Some people are hard-headed and they don't listen, right? So that is a big problem. That leads to family values, right? Mom's not there, attachment problems or detachment problems because the father or the mom's not there, kids having mother or father issues, right? If they don't have a support, like if they don't have a male role model, if they don't have a female role model, it becomes a problem, right? So how do we handle that for business owners? I mean, really, they need a VA, right? But how can a VA mitigate those problems? See, now a lot of times business owners stay after to do the books, whether it's QuickBooks, bookkeeping, right? Paperwork, receipts. They might stumble on social media. How would our VAs help business owners get to those games, Anne?
I think, Doc, it's a very important VA for them, for the business owners, serves as a very important role. It will help them get to their family activities on time. I think that one is a very important one. And then they could also have this trust that we could do that work and they could spend more time with their family.
Well, that's the big thing is that, one of the big questions is business owners feel like, well, I don't know if I could trust a VA to do it, right? But maybe I should just do it myself. That's like the number one limiting factor for all business owners is that they believe they can do it better on their own instead of delegating it to someone else. It's a trust issue, right? We think as business owners that we can do it better. If you're watching this and you think that you can do it better than anyone else with all the tasks that you do, you're wrong, right? You can't do everything great. And most people try to be the jack of all trades and then they end up being the master of none, right? So what else, why else, Anne, have you heard other business owners or maybe that we've read online, right? Why they can't trust the VA? What are some other complaints?
For us, for me, Doc, language barrier. Maybe that's what they have in mind. when we do they have a VA, the VA can understand me. We don't live in same city, something like that. So maybe language barrier is one thing.
Yeah, language barrier could be one thing. They might not understand, or they feel like the VA might, due to communication problems, they don't understand. Another thing that they worry about is time zones, right? But I always tell them, I said, a lot of people who are working as a VA, they understand that part of being a VA is working the night shift. If you're working for someone in America, right? America, Canada, Europe, it's on a different time zone. So that's usually expected. So I tell our clients, I say, well, you don't have to worry about that because it's something that's already expected. And the language barrier, how early do people of the Philippines learn English?
I learned English when I was still in elementary. Maybe that we started learning English at grade three.
At grade 3. So by the time you're in third grade, you learn English. Was that the first time you were exposed to English, though, or have you heard English before?
I heard English before because I love watching American like Friends, Sesame Streets, those English cartoons. So I was exposed with that one. But when learning the process, Doc, I was really in the third grade.
It was really in the third grade, but you've already been exposed to it before, right? Unlike a lot of kids or a lot of other people in the world, they were never exposed to it. And that's why I love working with VAs in the Philippines, is because you guys already know the English, that the language barrier has already been broken, right? So, and it really depends, right? If our client needs a VA that specifically speaks in English, then we have VAs that will be phenomenal at that job as well. Now, what other struggles do people have? And for those of you who are hearing this for the first time, you can definitely drop comments below and we could respond, right, based on you watching this video. But what are some other things that people are realizing, why they don't want to hire a VA?
Maybe also the monitoring, like, for example, the power outage. It's something that we can control, power outage. And I
Right.
think it's something that I thought that doesn't exist in America. It's just only in the Philippines. But I was just so
It
amazed.
happens here too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So we were very surprised and shocked about that one. But maybe power outage is also the big thing for
I mean,
business.
power outages happen anywhere in the world, and it could happen anywhere, right? And for those who are worried about power outages, the VAs that we have, a lot of them have backup, right? The city itself that they work in have really good supply of power. Heck, me being in where I am, I have power outages, and most people, when they hear that, oh, you guys in the US have power outages too? Yes. Like the other day, we went about 14 hours without power. One of my neighbors was like texting me like, oh, wow, what's going on? So it happens here too.
Yeah, I thought it's just only common in the Philippines. So
No, no, it's not. And see, most people have fears of those things that aren't really true fears. But when they do that, what happens is now your family ends up suffering because people are like, well, I'm just going to take this on myself. And what happens is, here's how I'll play this out. Your mom and dad don't show up to a game, right? You start seeing other friends. I'm just saying this is how I felt. You start seeing your other friends' parents show up to games. You're like, man, I wish my parents could show up to games. But not every kid is as strong as I was when I was a kid. Some kids will get depressed, have anxiety, right? Become more distant to the parent. They resent them. All these things. Every kid's different. Every kid's different. For me, I grew up in an area where there was only a few parents that showed up. 50% of us had our parents never showed up. So it's okay. I mean, one of my friends, their parents couldn't even get out of their job to come to their graduation because they had to fill in for somebody else, right? So these things happen. But the question is, do you want it to happen to you? That's the question, right? If you could make it to all your kids' games and practices and everything, what would that mean to them? I think that's what people should think about. What would that mean to them? What would that mean to you, your spouse, being able to support it? It's one thing if you didn't know how to, but we're giving you an opportunity where you can do it, right? I mean, that's the big difference. What other things are people worried about, Anne?
Just talking about communication, maybe also the accent. I think that's also
Right.
accent.
The accent, and hell, 50% of America probably have some sort of accent, right? 1/3 of California is Spanish, right? So none of us are really, grew up speaking English. And if you work with someone in the South, they got different accents as well. So it depends on what you need the VA to do, really. If your VA is doing social media, does it matter if they have an accent or not, as long as their grammar is great, right? The only time an accent becomes a problem is if they're your main people calling out, you see? And that's where it can become a problem in the long run. But that's also why we find people, VAs, who specifically speaks great English, so that accent won't be a problem, right?
That's right.
People don't even give themselves a chance. I think most people are too scared to find an employee. Maybe they're not there yet, right? Maybe they're afraid that they can't manage an employee because they're barely organized enough to do things themselves. They don't know what to do with an employee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. I think that's also the one thing that holds them, their fears of hiring a VA because of this problem, that problem, what if, what if. So their what ifs hold them to have a great time with their family.
The what ifs are fears. You know what fears stand for? False evidence appearing real. FEAR. That's what fear stands for. False evidence appearing real. See, and when people have so many fears, there's no truth that comes out to it. Well, now you end up suffering. You end up suffering, your family ends up suffering, your business ends up suffering. We started having VAs in 2016, and the only thing that we have done is grown, right? You got to break through your fears. See, but fear is upon us, right? Society sets these fears in us and allows us to think, oh, wait, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, right? And we do have a lot of fears because, well, let's be real. We were told a lot of these things when we were kids, right? Oh, there's a saying. People will say, oh, I might as well do this myself. Right? Parents will get mad because their kids they can't teach their kids the right way. Not because the kids can't do it the right way. I feel like because they are not coached correctly. Right? Anyone could be coached to do certain things. Everyone learns differently though. You see, we all have our strengths, but if you were pushed hard enough to do it, you'll try to make it happen. Right? But we give up too easily. And when we give up too easily, we end up not doing, we end up not believing ourselves. See, why do you think the military, the first thing that you do when you wake up is they have you and make your bed? Fold your blankets and make your bed. Because that's the first step in the morning, the first thing that you did, and that you completed that task. So that you started your morning completing a task. Right? You attack the task list. Attack the easiest things first because the easy things give you confidence for the harder things. Right? So a lot of business owners out there, you don't have enough confidence or courage. You got to give yourself that. Right? Give your kids that. Attack the easy things first.
Yeah, and that's also one thing that we have, the solution to that. Never miss your kids' sports game again. Never miss an important dinner with your family. In Streamline, we have that solution for them, to business owners.
Exactly. Only if they're willing to take the leap. It's a leap of faith, right? Do you want to stay the same or do you want to grow? So hopefully, as a business owner myself and talking to all the other business owners out there, you guys find this helpful, right? You have to attack your fears, and attacking your fears, hiring people is one of those things. Oh, I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the resources, right? You got to get them. You got to get them and expand yourself. You hire one person full time, you turn a 40-hour week into an 80-hour week automatically. You see? So, well, I hope you guys are listening out there. Like and subscribe. And anything else before we leave?
One more thing, Doc. What is the best way if some business owners would like to reach to us? What would be the best website, the number to call?
Hit us up on the streamlineteam.com. You hit me up on LinkedIn or Facebook, and we could schedule a Calendly link, right? I'll leave my Calendly link, below, so that you guys could request a time. All right. Then we'll chat, figure out what's the best way for you to grow, or what type of VAs you need to have. Okay. That way you can start going to games and not missing any plays and school events and whatnot.